America roars, liberals fume. That's the focus of tonight's angle. It turns out that Americans like muscular, targeted military strikes to defend America's interests.
It turns out Americans like what they deem to be successful foreign policy operations. And in this case, they view the ousting of Maduro, at least up to this point, as a successful one, and therefore the support way up.
And now it looks like Trump may have gotten a sneak preview of our military action against Maduro. This happened last June when he visited Fort Bragg. Nothing like having a commander-in-chief who our troops actually respect and genuinely like. But for 4 years under Joe Biden, America was a global laughingstock. Our government consisted of a declining president, a dim-witted cackler of a vice president, a mealy-mouthed Secretary of State, and a doddering defense secretary. And a great power, let's face it, doesn't leave its border wide open or turn a military withdrawal into a deadly humiliation. And it doesn't allow our adversaries to move boldly into its own hemisphere as China did in Latin America. With Biden and his team of weaklings in charge, the broad consensus was that global power was shifting away from America to Asia, to President Xi. But now, under President Trump, it increasingly looks like the future belongs to the United States of America. If you had $1 million to invest today, would you invest it in China or Germany? Or would you put it in the United States? Obviously, the answer is you'd invest it right here. The experts, remember they predicted economic doomsday last spring because of tariffs? Well, they're embarrassed again. U.S. stocks closed at another record high today, driven by investor optimism about the future under Trump. And Trump knows, look, you can't have peace without strength, and that means economic strength. Trillions in investments are pouring in, but that just makes liberals mad. Because the stronger America gets, the more miserable the Democrats are, and the more vicious the left becomes. And remember, this is nothing new. They were furious during the Reagan years, too. I was there. Nothing made them happy. Not a booming economy, not winning the Cold War. Not at all. And today, liberals are more upset over the arrest of Nicolas Maduro than when Maduro stole his election and threw political prisoners in jail.
Things got worse, not better so far.
The United States seemingly has no strategy, no end game, no plan.
This foreign policy is clearly much more neo-imperialist.
President Trump is isolating the United States from the countries we should be in great connection with.
Oh, that doesn't make sense. The opposite is true. Our flawless military action in Venezuela has strengthened our hand across the globe, which, again, is why they're so angry. Politico had to admit that Trump's superpower flex in Venezuela was a, quote, humbling blow to Putin. And we know that China is fuming because this is a serious setback to their South American fantasy. They started fulminating immediately after the news broke of Maduro's capture, issuing a pathetic demand that we release the dictator and his wife. Oh, okay. Yeah, as soon as you release the COVID files, guys, we'll release Maduro. And as for Europe's vague statements urging restraint and respect for international law, all I can say is, fix your own house, start paying for your own defense, then you can get back to us. America's back. But since, again, they prefer the European model to our own, Democrats are seething. The entire idea of American exceptionalism is now and always has been repugnant to people like Angus King.
To the extent that we are diminishing our relationships with the Europeans, with Denmark, with NATO, undermining relationships with our Asian allies, poking them with tariffs unnecessarily, those kinds of things are a serious dilution of America's authority and power around the world.
Oh, wait, okay. First of all, what is wrong with the poor people of Maine, the state of Maine? I love you, but what is... Does he really believe that America is stronger when China has a stranglehold on Venezuela? Or when China dominates key industries in our own hemisphere? Or when nations cheat on trade deals with impunity? His position is asinine. Obviously, we're better off if we level the playing field on trade. Obviously, if an evil communist regime is controlling the biggest oil reserves in the world, we're in trouble. The truth is, by moving against Maduro, Trump has shown the world that the United States is no longer a paper tiger. When our interests, our security, our future independence are threatened, we will use every tool, including military might, to defend our country, especially in our own hemisphere. So gone is Biden's rainbow military. Instead, our armed forces are once again focused on killing our enemies. But naturally, look, the next question in Venezuela is now what? Hope is not a strategy, and the press is assuming, as always, that the worst is going to happen.
It is a mess. Trump is right in saying that. But I haven't heard anything yet that tells me how they're going to transform the mess into a viable, stable country.
Well, we'll see, but some patience is in order, I think. The idea that Venezuela can have an election next week, it's fanciful. We should neither overextend ourselves there nor go totally hands-off. We can't. Our next steps in Venezuela will be challenging and risky. Protecting our interests over 250 years, it's always been risky. But what Biden was incapable of understanding is that being an effective president requires having more than grand ideas. It requires bold action and a well-articulated, clear strategy. And that's something that Trump team should keep in mind. With every press conference, every public statement made, every post on Truth or X, remind Americans, this is not a war. This is an action to secure our future, to keep us safe, and to counter the biggest threats to our prosperity and security. And that's the angle.
Miller is angry.
You invaded the country. We went into the country and we seized the leader of Venezuela.
Damn straight we did.
And I'm saying,
we're not going to let.
So is the U.S. going to have new elections?
Jake, is that we're not going to let Tim Pot communist dictators send rapists into our country, send drugs into our country, send weapons into our country.
The left is uncomfortable exercising American power. It's as simple as that. They're ashamed we're a superpower. So when we throw our weight around, they feel bad about it, even though we're helping them. They're now arguing that Venezuela has the right to send us drugs, gangs, steal our oil, sell it to China. But if we do something about them, we're the bad guys. A communist-backed dictator who's been accused of crimes against humanity, we arrest him, and the Democrats say, we're breaking the law. Well, what's the point of being a superpower if we can't exercise any power in our own neighborhood? How about a little gratitude?
You know, at some point they should say, you know, you did a great job. Thank you. Congratulations. Wouldn't it be good? I would say that if they did a good job, their philosophies are so different. But if they did a good job, I'd be happy for the country. They've been after this guy for years and years and years. And, you know, he's a violent guy. He gets up there and he tries to imitate my dance a little bit. But he's a violent guy, and he's killed millions of people.
Trump's taken out al-Baghdadi, Soleimani, the Iranian nuke program, and now dictator Maduro. And every single time, look it up, the left's against it. They say Trump is putting us in danger. Every time. That's what they say. How? By taking out bad guys? Soon they're going to be calling Maduro a Venezuelan dad. Biden had a $25 million bounty on Maduro's head. How'd the Democrats think we were going to go nab him? Maduro's going to turn himself in? Okay, gringos, you got me. I give up. Democrats literally campaigned in the last election exclusively on dictators are bad. That's all we heard, the D word. Defending democracy against dictatorship. So a real dictator lost the election, stayed in power, locked up his opponents. Trump puts that guy in handcuffs, and Democrats say he, went about it the wrong way. They put Trump in handcuffs, claiming he tried to steal an election. Well, Maduro actually did it, and a lot worse. Jasmine Crockett thinks it's unfair that the United States has the power to arrest dictators. Well, she's saying, well, if the shoe was on the other foot.
Guess what? There are a lot of people that don't like our leader. And regardless, somebody coming into the United States and grabbing our leader in the middle of the night and killing people in this country, I'm sure everybody would be outraged at them doing it that way.
This explains the liberal mindset perfectly. Maduro has just as much of a right to arrest Trump as Trump has the right to arrest him. America should not put America first, should not use our power for good, and should take no responsibility for defending its interests. Even when other countries are attacking us with drugs and gangs and colluding with our enemies, we just have to sit back and take it. What do liberals want to use American power for? Sex changes in Guatemala? Check. $20 million for Sesame Street in Iraq? Yeah. They don't want to defend our borders, only borders thousands of miles away. They don't even want to defend our money. They bring in migrants and let them steal it. Even when we blow the whistle, whoop, whoop, the Somalis are stealing our money, they still don't stop it. Gay marriage is illegal in Venezuela. Is that going to change Crockett's mind? Should we tell her that Juan can't marry Juan in Caracas? Biden left billions in military hardware in Afghanistan, got 13 soldiers killed, and then he smoked a family of civilians with a drone. And the Democrats were like, greatest airlift in history. Trump sends in Delta Force, 0 casualties, picks up this tyrant out of a military fortress in the dead of night, flies him back to New York, puts him on trial. And Democrats are mad. Why? Because they didn't get a heads up? Yeah, because they're telling soldiers to disobey orders. Why else? Because it's illegal? Bush did the same thing to Noriega. Arrested him, put him on trial, and put him in prison. Didn't Democrats say all fall? Got to give him due process. Well, that's what we're doing. Why else? Because there's no democracy in Venezuela yet? Well, there's no democracy in Libya either, after Barry bombed it back into the Stone Age, or in Afghanistan. We were there for 20 years. They are mad that we're taking the oil. What do you think this economy runs on? Solar panels? Do you think we're going to win the AI race with China with windmills? Did the Democrats even build any windmills in 4 years? Did the Democrats build anything? How about being proud to be an American?
Nicolas Maduro got to meet some great Americans for a night vision goggles 3 nights ago. He didn't know they were coming until 3 minutes before they arrived. In fact, his wife said, I think I hear aircraft outside. They didn't know. You know why? Because every single part of that chain did their job. And they did it flawlessly.
You know who else didn't see it coming? China. All these Chinese spies crawling around D.C. They were totally shocked. Want to know why? Because we didn't brief Swalwell, and he didn't slip it to Fang Fang. You know what else they should be proud of? The Russian and Chinese air defense systems didn't work against our military. Trump really must be Putin's puppet if he's blowing up Putin's puppet in Venezuela. And this just in from the president. I am pleased to announce that the interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over between 30 and 50 million barrels of high-quality sanctioned oil to the United States of America. This oil will be sold at its market price, and that money will be controlled by me as President of the United States of America to ensure that it is used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the United States. Did you know after the Iraq War, we barely won an oil contract? Barely. British Petroleum got fat contracts. The Russians got contracts. They didn't even fight there. But Americans spent a decade of blood and treasure, and we walked away with next to nothing. Not anymore.
I asked him, I said, Mr. President, when you say, quote, we're going to run everything, that obviously causes deep concerns because of the disaster in Iraq. The president's response, Joe, the difference between Iraq and this is that Bush didn't keep the oil. We're going to keep the oil.
Trump says take the oil. Democrats call that imperialistic. We call it common sense. You know, we won spoils after World War II. We told our allies, lose the colonies. We took half Japan's gold they stole, built military bases on everyone's turf, and pegged the world currencies to the dollar. Was that fair? We've neglected our own neighborhood for the last 25 years because we were stuck in the sand in Iraq and Afghanistan. And while we were there, China swooped into our backyard and turned out all of our neighbors.
For years, we sent our soldiers to die in deserts in the Middle East to try to build them parliaments, to try to build them democracies, to try to give them more oil, to try to give them more resources. The future of the free world, Jake, depends on America being able to assert ourselves and our interests without apology.
In 2007, Hugo Chavez stole oil rights from Exxon and ConocoPhillips and kicked them out of the country. Now, at the time, Bush was fighting to save Iraq. He didn't have the bandwidth to defend our interests in the hemisphere. That's just a fact. Now, the media is saying, oh, American oil companies, they don't want to go back to Venezuela. It's too expensive. It's going to take too much time. What kind of negative attitude is that? Oil executive phones are blowing up. Interest in Venezuela has gone from 0 to 99%, quote unquote. Chevron, Exxon, Halliburton, their stocks are on fire. The Dow's up 1,000 points since the raid. Gold's up. The Venezuelan bond market's going loco. Privateers are already aiming for a $2 billion raise. The oil companies, they're meeting tomorrow with the Secretary of Energy. Venezuelan reserves are already mapped. There's no exploration risk. That means quicker dinero, lower inflation, and more leverage for Estados Unidos. This puts Trump in a stronger bargaining position with Putin over Ukraine and gives America more leeway to conduct military operations without worrying about rattling the oil markets. We squeeze China. We even reduce our reliance on Canadian oil, and that gives us more leverage in trade talks. And the best part is, liberals, listen closely, boosting Venezuelan oil output improves the Venezuelan economy. I know you care so much about other people. It helps the people live better lives there so they don't have to migrate here and raise your rent. Democrats are whining that we swapped one dictator for the dictator's VP, but guess what? She's already cooperating and has been for over a year. The Financial Times reports this. The vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, has been conducting secret talks with Washington for a while, preparing for a post-Maduro Venezuela. Translation, she went behind her boss's back and backstabbed him. She's now in charge. You don't think this woman's going to play ball a little bit? Now, if she doesn't play ball, the naval blockade will choke off her cash flow, and she won't be able to keep her lights on and pay off her cronies. Just ask the Japanese or the Cubans how crippling an American naval blockade is. El Vice Presidente doesn't want to find out the hard way. She might not give us elections right away. She might not break up with the cartels because the cartel kickbacks are what keeps the generals fat and happy, but she will hand us back our oil and the gold and the minerals for sure, because that's what we're going to need for AI. Now, between Canada, the United States, Mexico, and Latin America, that puts Trump in control of a North and South American oil empire, which would control 40% of world oil production. Kind of makes us the new OPEC. We'd be in the strongest position we've been in a long time. But there's one more thing we need.
Greenland has a population of 30,000 people, Jake. The real question is, by what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO. For the United States to secure the Arctic region, to protect and defend NATO and NATO interests, obviously Greenland should be part of the United States.
Not only are Russian and Chinese ships sailing all across the Arctic looking for riches and new routes, the flight paths of Russian missiles, they go directly across Greenland into the United States. Can't have that. The Arctic is the new frontier. It's the new battle space, economically and militarily. And this tiny, tiny, tiny Scandinavian country, a NATO member for sure, has an uninhabited colony bigger than Alaska, sitting off the coast of Maine. Now, if we're going to defend NATO from the Russians and the Chinese, Denmark's not going to be able to do it because they just can't. And they're getting a little prickly about the situation.
To taunt the Danish special forces who protects Greenland is very easy, but I would like to see how many American soldiers who can cope with these Arctic temperatures and this very harsh environment. I don't think it's something that you get many soldiers to do from the American continent.
Yeah, I hate to break it to the Danes. We have long johns here too. Patagonia will happily provide parkas for the Navy. We have soldiers from the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. Gets a little cold up there in the winter. They're used to the wind chill too. If we needed Bermuda to defend the Caribbean from the enemy, I think the British would let us borrow the island. It's called sharing. Funny thing is, the Europeans are lecturing us about colonies. What's yours is yours. Really?
My response is that Denmark landed on Greenland before anyone ever thought about making the United States of America. So by that logic, the United States of America should go back to be a colony of the United Kingdom.
Okay, is that how it works now? Whoever gets there first gets to keep it? So I guess Russia gets to keep Ukraine. Sounds like the Danes are saying, I don't know. I have a better military doctrine. That's if you don't use it, you lose it. And they know it. And that's why they're begging Rubio for a meeting. And look at that. Trump makes a threat. Now they're coming to the table. They want to do a deal. There's a method to the madness. Maybe we use the oil money from Venezuela to buy Greenland. Maybe we just share it with the Danes. I hear the Scandinavians like to get down like that. We don't judge. Either way, after the Maduro raid, Trump has the wind at his back.
After the ousting, look at that. The support through the roof. Now we're talking about 37%. It turns out Americans like what they deem to be successful foreign policy operations. And in this case, they view the ousting of Maduro, at least up to this point, as a successful one, and therefore the support way up.
After all, we are not being the world's policeman. We're not doing this for the world like we usually do. We're doing it for us. And what is it that we're doing? We're looking out for ourselves, our people, our neighborhood, our country. Now, if the left can't get it together, Miller is going to be really mad.
Welcome to Hannity. And tonight, unrest on the streets of Iran, Cuba on the brink of collapse. Meanwhile, China, Russia, and Iran, they just lost their biggest ally in the Western Hemisphere. And the air defense systems given to Venezuela by China and Russia, they were no match for the U.S. military. As a result, Nicolas Maduro, oh, look at that. He's now locked up in a New York City jail. And for those of you that are wondering, apparently Greenland is very much in play. I think President Trump may make them an offer they may not want to refuse. Now, a lot is at stake in the coming days and weeks and months. The leader of the Iranian opposition, Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, will also join us tonight, and Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Tim Scott, they will be here, along with the U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Michael Walz. Maybe it's time to say bye-bye to the UN. Now, he will respond to the far-left wannabe diplomats at the UN who are now predictably taking the side of Venezuelan's ex-brutal dictator, Nicolas Maduro. All of this, plus tonight, Hannity shootout. We're going to have our old friend, comrade Bill de Blasio, talk about his fellow comrade, Zoran Kami Marxist Mamdani, and his very extremist views and his team of extremists. Are they now implementing very racist policies in New York City? As you can see, the news is developing at a rapid pace, both at home and abroad. Democrats on Capitol Hill, they're stuck in 2021. Today, they commemorated the January 6th Capitol riots with a very solemn candlelight vigil. This is worthy of a Saturday Night Live skit. They were singing. But we begin tonight with actual breaking news. Now tonight out of Venezuela. The Don Road Doctrine, as it is now called, is in full effect. And Venezuelan oil will soon be flowing right here into the U.S. and hopefully to the people of Venezuela. The president putting on Truth Social, he made the following statement, quote, interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over between 30 and 50 million barrels of high-quality sanctioned oil to the U.S. This oil will be sold at market price, and that money will be controlled by me as the president of this country to ensure it is used to the benefit of the people of Venezuela and the United States. That is a whopping $2.5 billion for the American and Venezuelan people. And just to recap, in just 3 daring hours inside Venezuela, Trump removed an illegitimate dictator, narco-terrorist, saved Americans in this country from the lethal drug trade that he was profiting off of. They also eliminated a key ally for Russia, China, and Iran, took control over the largest oil reserves in the entire world, and are enriching both the people of Venezuela and the American people will benefit in the end as well. So, yeah, despite the performative groans from the Democratic Party, this move was incredibly popular. Take a look.
Okay, U.S. military ousting Maduro. Pre-ousting, what you saw was the clear plurality of Americans opposed at 47%, just 21% support. Come over to this side of the screen. After the ousting, look at that. The support through the roof. Now we're talking about 37%, well within the margin of error right here of the opposition, 38%. It turns out Americans like what they deem to be successful foreign policy operations. And in this case, they view the ousting of Maduro, at least up to this point, as a successful one, and therefore the support way up. They believe that he should be on trial for drug trafficking. Look at this. 50% of Americans favor compared to just 14% who oppose. So there are very few Americans here who oppose it. Even among Democrats, the opposition number is below, get this, just 24%, is below 25%.
Now, Matt Towery, Insider Advantage, had it at 56%, but make no mistake, this doesn't begin and end with Venezuela. The Trump administration now eyeing swift action in Cuba with a potential oil blockade. That country is in deep trouble tonight. And in Iran, President Trump has vowed to back the protesters, and we have a lot of video to share with you tonight, protesting that country's radical Islamist regime. Take a look at your screen. Major clashes are now underway across the entire country of Iran, including its capital city, where now 36 have been killed. The mullahs, they are losing their grip on power as we speak. Their proxies have been humiliated, their nuclear program obliterated, their economy is in shambles, and they're even running out of water and other critical supplies. And get this, the government is now reportedly offering their citizens a whopping $7 a month. Wow, to stop protesting. That's right, $7 a month, a bribe. That is desperate government, short on options and short on cash, obviously. The Ayatollah even reportedly has contingency plans in place to flee to Vladimir Putin's Russia. I'm sure a lot of cash will be on that plane or some type of currency. And what comes next? And what role, if any, will the U.S. play?
I can't wait to disappoint you. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So the vandal who attacked J.D. Vance's home with a hammer has been identified as a 26-year-old man who goes by the name Julia. Police suspected it was a biological male because he knew how to use a hammer. Scientists have identified the bat families that are most likely to spark the next epidemic. Coincidentally, they were all found at one man's house. Yeah. New York's new housing czar previously posted that she wanted to make life hell for white people, leading many to fear she'll institute a policy where they'll have to date her.
Man, I love being black. Oh.
Me too. New guidelines say that an at-home genital warts test could replace the pap smear for some women. Experts warn, however, that if this man shows up at your house, he's not a doctor. Joe Biden's pension is the largest of any president in history. And he's already got an eye on some new real estate. A growing number of patients are getting butt lifts using fat from dead people. I know, leading many to believe that Kim Kardashian is a serial killer. According to a new study, since ending affirmative action, colleges are now admitting Asian students at incredible rates. We will have an official number once an Asian kid does the math. It's not racist if it's a compliment. McDonald's is being sued over falsely claiming its McRib contains real rib meat. In related news, Wendy's is also being sued for their burgers not including real redheaded girls. What's the point then? And finally, scientists have discovered a compound that reverses Alzheimer's disease in rodents, which is good news for rats that lose their way inside Richard Gere's ass. Thank you. Thank you. So the allegations of fraud were more than Tampon Tim could absorb. I wonder, has he been perfect in this?
Have I been perfect in this? God dang no. I wasn't perfect as a teacher. I wasn't perfect as a coach. I wasn't perfect as a soldier, but I was pretty damn good at all those things. Game's over for him now. It was all me. I was the bad guy or whatever. Well, put up or shut up now and tell us what you're going to do to make this state better. Answer these tough questions. Quit hiding behind this and expect for the next 11 months for me to ride you like you've never been ridden.
Yeah. He's gonna go broke back on your. Whew. Whew. So who's to blame? Well, I bet it's those conspiracy theorists and right-wing YouTubers breaking into our daycares and demanding access to our children.
We've got conspiracy theorist right-wing YouTubers breaking into our daycares, demanding access to our children. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
Focus on the work. It's a little late for that, Tim. That's like closing the barn door after the horse opened a bogus daycare center for Somali tots. And from what we've seen in Nick Shirley's videos, no one has access to children at those daycare centers. Hell, there's nowhere to be found. Those places are as child-free as Planned Parenthood. Yeah. So $9 billion in Somali fraud doesn't just happen. In part, it comes from a culture that runs on tribalism, piracy, and scams. But it's enabled by a government of cowards who turn a blind eye for fear of being called racist. So now Nick Shirley is some right-wing conspiracy theorist? No. Nick was pounding the pavement armed with a camera and a set of brass balls, while Walz was MIA, menstruating in action. But Elon deserves credit, too, when he bought X. Before that, a story like this would have been smothered like one of Hillary's former friends. And don't forget Musk's Doge, which put waste, fraud, and abuse front of mind. We now realize our massive debt isn't just about spending, it's corruption. And that we could save trillions by simply rooting out the fraud. But still, you gotta wonder, would this have happened 30 years ago? Even Bill Clinton wouldn't have allowed this. For one thing, those skinny Somali broads, they're not his type. But we used to share responsibility when it came to civic order. But identity politics destroyed that. Now we are to believe that we aren't worthy to call out lawbreaking because the lawbreakers are oppressed and we are the oppressor. Identity politics erased all culpability, whether it's mass theft, open borders, fraud, recidivist crime. If you dared to call that out, then you were racist. Ask them not to lie, cheat, and steal. Hell, you might as well demand they don't marry their damn brother. But that stupid racist claim was enough to turn clowns like Walz into cowards. And talk about bad timing. Walz was in charge as his state imported people from low-trust societies where no shared values exist. I mean, why would Muslims, which most of these Somalis are, move to a country where strip clubs outnumber mosques? And where the average temperature of their home country is 88 in December, but minus 17 in Minneapolis? There's nothing here for them except American taxpayer dollars. And true, we do have our own criminals. But when a city becomes rife with scams, counterfeit goods, pickpockets, frauds, economic and government inefficiency, you're left with warring tribes fueled by the suspicions of others. Gone is the assimilation to our values like hard work or hamburgers and Stallone films. Instead of one community of Americans, it's communities. And some of them see the rest of us as ripe for the plucking. So Tim may be gone, but the problem's still here. America, it used to be a high-trust country, but we've offered sanctuary to scammers who, rather than assimilate, operate with the same lawlessness they employed in their homeland. And people who suspect others of ripping them off, well, that breeds contempt. Suspicion replaces goodwill, and aggression becomes the mode of communication. You see it in public transportation, in restaurants, college campuses. Hell, everything is still locked up at Walgreens. Is that because of you? No, it's because of cowards like Walz, who let scammers turn our paychecks into paydays. Let's welcome tonight's guest. She's smart and cheerful and makes Democrats fearful. Republican side of his Harry Maguire. He's like Eminem. They're both from Detroit, and neither does comedy. Comedian Dave Landau. Her arms remind people to floss after meals. New York Times bestselling author, Fox News, Get Rabbit, Eric And a night with him is covered under Medicare Part D. Former NWA World Champion and host of the Planet Tyrus podcast, Tyrus.
Somebody was a little too happy. He's like, woo!
And so much to cover here, but what do you make of I'm gonna ride you like you've never been ridden before? That guy could have been VP.
Oh, thank God he isn't. And that is a deeply unhinged, unwell man in the governor's mansion in Minnesota, but thankfully not for much longer, since he has decided to take himself out of the race. In all of this, Tim Walz 2.0 that we get to enjoy, right? We got 1.0 in the Kamala era. This 2.0 where he's decided to just completely give up his job and say, now I'm really going to do the work, is absolutely hilarious because you can just see how the more pressure he gets, the more unhinged he becomes.
Right.
He was barely pushed during the presidential primary and during the general election. And what happened? The man couldn't keep his facts straight about his own biography. He lied about his military service. This guy's got a real hard problem with the truth.
Yeah.
So this 2.0 version is an angry man who doesn't have the capability to be honest with people, coupled with billions and billions of dollars in taxpayer fraud and scams. He is going to implode in a way we have not seen from a Democrat in a very long time. And at this point, Republicans in Minnesota need to be paying attention. If you want to try to win the governor's mansion back, if you want to win those legislative seats back, now is the time to get candidates who can actually win in that competitive state, because it can be competitive this year.
Dave, and let's not forget, Kamala Harris thought Mayor Pete was too gay.
Yes. Well, he can ride pretty good, I'm told. Everything that Tim Walz says just sounds like it should be whispered to you in an airport bathroom.
Yes!
Every single threat that he has. He's an idiot. That's all it comes down to. Like, he was getting mad that people were driving by his house yelling stuff, and now he's stepping down because they were right. I mean, this guy lost $9 billion to people that were opening schools called leering centers.
Yes.
You couldn't even spell learning.
Yes.
It's astonishing. I'm going to enjoy watching his head explode. It's going to be worse than Kennedy.
Yeah.
What, too soon?
I liked it.
I don't mean for real. I mean a metaphorical.
You meant Fox's own Kennedy when she found out we were out of tea in the green room.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone that upset.
Oh my God, it was frightening. Kat, doesn't he kind of remind you of every kind of nightmare you have of being woefully unprepared or unqualified for a job and you're on the spot? He always seems like he's in a panic.
Well, I would also be in a panic if I was doing that much lying. that would be so stressful.
Yes.
But this is about you, Greg, because I want to ask you something.
Yes.
Are you going to be okay now that he's leaving?
See, I don't think he's going to go anywhere.
Do you have hope that he's going to have like a podcast or maybe a cable news contract?
Yes. I you know what? And he might go to jail. I mean.
Or that. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, the thing is, I think a lot of people that he's ignoring, that he is definitely ignoring, is just that this, like, dude, like, this is your fault.
Yeah.
Like, you were given so much opportunity for reasons I don't understand, and I think most people don't really understand. And you were also given so much of our money, and you weren't really, like, paying attention to how that was best case scenario, you weren't paying attention to how was it being spent, or you refused to look, or whatever else. And he's acting like a victim. And he's not a victim, he is a failure.
Yeah.
Those are very different things.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.